There is an island off the coast of Brazil so dangerous that ordinary visitors are forbidden from setting foot on it, times threes. But that is only the beginning of the story. Deep within the Amazon, indigenous communities still live almost entirely isolated from the outside world. Two rivers of different colors flow side by side without immediately mixing, while the vast rainforest itself can influence the climate of the entire planet. Behind Carnival and football lies a Brazil filled with mysteries, misunderstood rumors, and truths that travelers rarely get to see. Time. Threes. Before we begin, subscribe to the channel, leave a like, and tell us in the comments where you are watching from. Now, let us uncover the real Brazil. Number 10. Brazil, a country the size of a continent. Brazil is a giant of South America, so vast that its scale goes far beyond what most people can easily imagine. Covering approximately 3.3 million square miles, Brazil occupies nearly half of the continent and shares a border with every South American country except Chile and Ecuador. Its immense size alone explains why Brazil cannot be understood as a single destination. Instead, it resembles a miniature world, filled with different climates, landscapes, and ways of life. Along the Atlantic Ocean, its coastline stretches for thousands of miles, yet most of the population is concentrated in coastal cities, especially around São Paulo and Rio de Janeiro. By 2025, Brazil had a population of approximately 213.44 million people, placing it among the most populous countries in the world. Time. 3Zs. Brazil's modern history began when the Portuguese established colonial rule there in 1500. More than 3 centuries of colonization left a lasting mark on the country's language, religion, architecture, cuisine, and social structure. Brazil declared independence in 1822, abolished slavery in 1888, and became a republic in 1889. These milestones did more than change its political system. They also began a long process through which the country shaped its own identity after the colonial era. Today, Brazil is the largest economy in Latin America, with a gross domestic product of approximately $2.28 trillion in 2025. Its economic strength comes from soybeans, coffee, sugar, beef, corn, iron ore, oil, many types of minerals, manufacturing, and a vast service sector. Tourism also plays an important role, drawing visitors to the Amazon rainforest, long stretches of coastline, historic cities, and world-famous festivals. Time. Beyond samba and football, Brazil is also a major power in agriculture, industry, and natural resources. Decisions made in this country can influence food supplies, energy markets, and international trade across many regions, far beyond the borders of South America. Number 9. Brazil, an identity shaped by diversity. Brazil's greatest strength lies not only in its size or natural resources, but also in the cultural diversity formed over many centuries. The country is a meeting place for communities with many different origins, creating a society rich in culture and layered identities. This cultural exchange has not erased their differences. Instead, it has given every region of Brazil its own accent, cuisine, traditions, and pace of life, while all still share a common national identity. From indigenous peoples and the first Portuguese settlers, to Africans brought there during the colonial era, and later waves of immigrants from Italy, Germany, Japan, Lebanon, and many other places, every community has left its mark on the language, food, music, religion, and daily life of Brazil. Today, Brazil has the largest Japanese community outside Japan, and is also one of the countries with the largest populations of African descent in the world. In daily life, Brazilians are often known for communicating in an open, expressive, and friendly way. Conversations may include gestures, smiles, and direct eye contact, creating a warmer and more personal atmosphere. Family remains central, while friendships and neighborhood relationships continue to form an important foundation of society. On weekends, several generations often gather around the dining table, enjoy music together, or meet at sporting events, where familiar bonds are naturally maintained. In modern society, Brazilian women are taking increasingly prominent roles in education, business, science, politics, the arts, and entrepreneurship. They are also behind many social projects and community initiatives across the country. But Brazil cannot be understood only through physical appearance, festivals, or images shared online. The country's true identity is found in its deep cultural heritage, its ability to adapt, its enduring strength, and the everyday lives of more than 213 million people. Number 8. Brazil. From football legends to the colors of Carnival. Few countries are as deeply connected to football as Brazil. Here, the ball is not seen only inside stadiums. It is also present on the streets, in open lots, and in small villages, where children use any available space to begin a match. Football has become part of the national identity, connecting people across generations and social classes. On the world stage, Brazil's national team is the most successful in FIFA World Cup history, with 5 titles won in 1958, 1962, 1970, 1994, and 2002. The country has also produced legendary names such as Pelé, Garrincha, Zico, Romario, Ronaldo, Ronaldinho, Kaká, and Neymar. Their influence goes far beyond trophies and statistics. It has also helped carry the image of Brazil to millions of people around the world. On match days, stadiums are covered in yellow and green, while restaurants, public squares, and neighborhoods come alive as fans gather to watch together. It is a moment when entire cities seem to move with the same emotional rhythm. For many Brazilians, football is not simply entertainment. It lives in family memories, in everyday conversations, and in a sense of pride passed down from one generation to the next. But alongside football, Carnival is another symbol the whole world instantly recognizes. Every year, samba schools spend months preparing costumes, composing music, and building enormous parade floats. Behind the lights, each parade is the result of creativity, craftsmanship, and collective effort. Carnival is not only a colorful celebration, but also a reflection of the meeting point between African heritage, indigenous culture, and European influence. Through music, dance, and the stories told in the streets, this festival has become a way for Brazilians to honor their history, their communities, and their identity. If this journey has made you see Brazil differently, even just a little, leave a subscription. That is the simplest way to let us know you want to see more stories like this. And now, let us return to Brazil. Number 7. Favelas, a side of Brazil the media often overlooks. Behind the images commonly shown in the news, Brazil's favelas emerged when urban expansion moved far faster than the supply of affordable housing and public infrastructure. Economic inequality, waves of migration, and limited access to legal housing pushed many families to build their own communities on hillsides, along the outskirts of cities, or on land that had not previously been developed. According to the 2022 census, approximately 16.44 million people were living in more than 12,000 officially recognized favelas and urban communities. Life in these areas is far more complex than films or news reports often suggest. Some communities face overcrowding, unreliable public services, limited transportation, and concerns about public safety. However, It would be misleading to describe every favela as a center of crime or violence. Millions of residents continue to attend school, go to work, raise children, operate small businesses, and contribute directly to the economic and cultural life of their cities. Many families have lived in these neighborhoods for generations, building careers, memories, and a lasting sense of belonging within their own communities. Inside these neighborhoods, visitors may find schools, restaurants, shops, local organizations, artists, musicians, technology projects, and young entrepreneurs. In Rio de Janeiro, some tours led by residents help travelers understand these areas from the perspective of the people who live there, rather than through outside stereotypes. At the same time, public agencies and nonprofit organizations continue to support improvements in housing, sanitation, education, and vocational training. For this reason, favelas cannot be reduced to a single story. They are thousands of different communities where hardship and inequality exist, alongside creativity, resilience, ambition, and strong neighborhood connections that the media often overlooks. Number 6. The Women's Village and the little-known true story. Hidden among the mountains of Minas Gerais is Noiva do Cordeiro, a small community that once attracted worldwide attention because of rumors claiming it was a village inhabited only by women who were searching for husbands. Those headlines spread rapidly across the internet, but the real story is far deeper and more memorable. The community's origins date back to the late 19th century, when Maria Señorina de Lima was reportedly expelled from the local church after leaving an unhappy marriage. Over time, more families settled in the area and worked together to build a close-knit farming community based on cooperation and mutual support. Today, Noiva do Cordeiro has several hundred residents, including both women and men. However, many young men temporarily leave the village to work or study in nearby cities. As a result, women have become especially visible in managing everyday life. They help oversee farming, organize community projects, supervise small businesses, and take part in important decisions that affect the village. Each day, decisions are not left to one individual. Instead, they are discussed collectively so that everyone can help protect the community's livelihoods, families, and future. In daily life, residents share responsibilities, support one another at work, and try to preserve their traditions while adapting to modern life. But online, the story has often been exaggerated far beyond the truth. Men do live in the village, and the women there are not searching for foreign husbands, despite what many articles have claimed. Noiva do Cordeiro is simply a peaceful rural community where stability has been built through self-governance, cooperation, and solidarity. Rather than being remembered for sensational headlines, the village reveals the power of shared responsibility, resilience, and trust in the community. Number 5. Brazil's Snake Island. The truth behind the terrifying rumors. Off the coast of São Paulo lies Ilha da Queimada Grande, commonly known as Snake Island, one of the most famous yet widely misunderstood places in Brazil. This small island is located about 22 miles from the mainland and has been closed to the public for decades. Access is strictly controlled by the Brazilian government to protect both human life and the island's fragile ecosystem times 3 Living on the island is the critically endangered golden lancehead, a snake that survives entirely in the wild. This species exists only on Ilha da Queimada Grande and cannot be found anywhere else on Earth. After thousands of years of isolation from the mainland, these snakes developed unique characteristics that allowed them to adapt to an environment where birds became their primary source of food. Their venom is extremely powerful, which means every research activity must follow strict safety procedures. Only licensed scientists and environmental specialists are permitted to enter the island, carrying official authorization, protective equipment, and a clearly defined research plan. Their work helps monitor the number of snakes, study changes within the population, and support conservation programs for this unique ecosystem. For that reason, every expedition is not only a scientific mission, but also part of a long-term effort to protect the island time-sakes threes. Over the years, the Internet has turned Snake Island into the inspiration for countless sensational stories. Some reports have claimed that millions of snakes live there, or that one can be found on nearly every small patch of ground. Although the island truly has one of the highest recorded snake densities in the world, those shocking figures are often exaggerated. From a scientific perspective, Snake Island is not a land of monsters or terrifying legends. It is a rare example of evolution in isolation, the importance of biodiversity, and the reason threatened species must be protected. Number 4. Brazil. Indigenous communities living in isolation. Deep within the Amazon, along the Maitse River, live the Pirahan, an indigenous community whose culture and language have attracted the attention of scholars around the world. Their language is not only spoken, but can also be sung, hummed, or whistled, allowing communication to travel more easily through dense forests and across rivers. Within academic circles, some researchers have made controversial claims about the grammar and vocabulary of the Pirahan language. However, many of these interpretations remain disputed among linguists. For that reason, the Pirahan should not be viewed as an experiment or a curiosity to be observed, but as a living community with its own knowledge, choices, and way of organizing daily life. Time. Threes. Their everyday existence is closely connected to the Amazon rainforest. Fishing, hunting, gathering, small-scale farming, and river travel provide food and help sustain community life. Knowledge of plants, animals, waterways, and seasonal changes has been passed down through generations. In other regions, Brazil is also home to indigenous communities that have chosen to remain isolated or maintain only very limited contact with outsiders. Unauthorized contact can introduce infectious diseases, against which local residents may have little or no immunity. It can also lead to conflict, loss of land, and severe cultural disruption. For this reason, Brazil generally follows a policy of avoiding forced contact. Teams from FUNAI mainly monitor and protect indigenous territories rather than entering communities solely for research. Contact is considered only in exceptional circumstances. Time 3Zs. Protecting these communities means protecting their land, health, autonomy, and right to decide whether they want contact with the outside world. They do not belong to the past. They are contemporary societies with their own knowledge, dignity, and future. Every decision concerning them must begin with that respect. Number 3. Brazil, a capital completed in just 41 months. In Brazil's vast interior stands Brasília, a capital city built almost entirely from the ground up. Before the city existed, the area consisted mainly of dry, sparsely populated land far from the coastal centers. Yet between 1956 and 1960, in only 41 months, a modern city rose from the landscape to become the country's new center of power. Behind this ambitious plan were urban planner Lúcio Costa and architect Oscar Niemeyer. Tens of thousands of workers labored day and night, building roads, constructing homes, and completing major landmarks across land that had once been nearly empty. Viewed from above, the Plano Piloto design resembles a giant airplane. The central axis stretches like the body, while two curved residential zones extend outward like wings. This striking form has made Brasília one of the most recognizable urban designs in the world. Along the monumental axis, Brazil's National Congress, Supreme Federal Court, Presidential Palace, and many federal institutions are arranged within a broad, balanced, and highly symbolic setting. Buildings with bold curves, open plazas, and white concrete structures created a distinctive modern architectural style. On both sides, the residential superquadras were organized into separate clusters, combining homes, schools, shops, and green spaces. The city was designed around wide avenues, separated road systems, and carefully planned traffic routes, rather than the narrow, intersecting streets found in many older cities recognized by UNESCO. Brasília is more than Brazil's administrative capital. It also represents the ambition to move the country's development deeper into the interior, a belief in modern urban planning, and an era when Brazilians believed the future could be designed and then built with their own hands. From an empty landscape, Brasília became a symbol of Brazil's desire for transformation. Number 2. The unusual traffic rule after nightfall. When night falls over Rio de Janeiro or São Paulo, the rhythm of the streets can change very quickly. Avenues crowded during the day may become quiet, and a car waiting too long at an intersection can sometimes leave the people inside feeling exposed. Fear of being robbed while stopped at a red light has created a familiar defensive habit among many drivers. Slow down, look in every direction, and leave the area if danger appears to be nearby ×3s. But the important point is that this is not a right that applies throughout Brazil. Under federal traffic law, driving through a red light is still considered a very serious violation, except when turning right at a location where signs specifically permit it. Some local governments have introduced their own rules or limited nighttime enforcement, while other proposals have remained only at the draft stage. For that reason, the hours and conditions may vary from one city to another, and there is no single unofficial rule for the entire country. In practice, these local measures were created because drivers may be approached while their vehicles are stopped at quiet intersections. Even in places where penalties are waived or limited, drivers must still slow down and check for pedestrians, motorcycles, bicycles, and crossing vehicles before moving forward. A red light does not become permission to speed through the intersection. Instead, it is treated more like a stop, where the situation must be assessed carefully. Time, 3s. This difference reveals how traffic in Brazil sometimes has to balance two demands at once: following the law and protecting personal safety. For travelers, the safest choice is still to obey road signs, follow local guidance, and never assume that running a red light is allowed simply because it is nighttime. This is not a nationwide Brazilian law, but a story of how some cities have adapted to very real dangers on the streets. Caution remains more important than trying to pass through as quickly as possible. Number 1. Brazil, a turquoise bay in the middle of the Atlantic. Far from the cities, Brazil reveals a completely different world in the Fernando de Noronha archipelago, where Baía do Sancho is regarded as one of the most beautiful beaches on Earth. Set apart in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, this bay has ranked at the top of travel lists many times because of its untouched scenery and unbelievably clear water. To reach the shore, visitors must pass through a narrow opening between rock walls and then climb down steep steel ladders. The journey can make some people hesitate, but the moment their feet touch the soft sand, almost all of that fatigue disappears. In front of you lies a crescent-shaped bay surrounded by green-covered cliffs and water glowing with a turquoise color. The clarity of the sea allows people to see coral reefs, schools of tropical fish, and sometimes even sea turtles swimming close to the shore. For diving lovers, this is one of the rare places where the underwater world is almost as beautiful as the landscape above the surface. When the tide changes, small pools also appear among the rocks, creating extra shelter for many forms of marine life. What makes it even more special is the way the island is protected. The number of visitors is limited, tourism activity is controlled, and certain areas must follow strict environmental rules. Because of that, the beach has not been overwhelmed by high-rise hotels, constant engine noise, or tourist services that would damage the natural landscape. In these waters, dolphins, sea turtles, stingrays, and many other species still have space to live in fairly natural conditions. Visitors do not come here only to take photos, but also to accept the necessary limits that help reduce the impact on the ecosystem. Bahia do Sancho, therefore, is not beautiful only because of its white sand or crystal-clear water. It also reveals something simple and undeniable. When nature is protected the right way, its beauty can last far longer than anything human beings create. As this journey ends, what remains with us is not only the rhythm of carnival drums, the roar of football stadiums, or the endless green of the Amazon rainforest. It is also the sight of two rivers with different colors flowing quietly side by side. An island that remains closed to protect a rare species of snake, and communities working to preserve their land, traditions, and right to choose their own way of life. Brazil cannot be explained through a single image. The deeper we explore, the more we realize that every rumor has another story behind it, while every beautiful landscape is connected to real people, history, and challenges. Before you leave, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and tell us in the comments what surprised you most about Brazil. See you again on our next journey.